we're just going to talk a little bit about, not very long, about personality assessments and why we do them, why we would want to do them. And you're going to do at least one on your own, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But I found this quote this morning. Life can only be understood backwards and must be lived forwards. And this, to me, speaks to why we do these personality assessments, is they help us to understand our life as it has been. Why do we do the things we do? Why have we done the things we've done? Why do we react the way we react? And it helps us understand ourselves, helps us understand who we are. And it can inform your life going forward. If you have a better understanding of who you are, you can better live your life forward. So I think that quote, and I don't know who said it, sorry to whoever said it, it wasn't me, but I just felt like it really fit well with what we were going to talk about today in personality assessments. And so just briefly, personality assessments in general, just like I said, they can help you understand why you do the things you do, and the third bullet should say why you react the way you react, not the way to do. They can be used, counselors will use them in helping you to understand personal relationships. A lot of times employers will use them to help place you in the appropriate job as you go into the workforce, or they use them to help you in employee relationships, because if you have a better understanding of yourself and you can also understand where somebody else is coming from, then that will help with communication issues and all of those kinds of things. So employers use them. And then as David mentioned a little bit earlier, we'll use it to this information to help you look at career paths. So those are just some basic things about why would we do this? Why do we spend time doing these things? I'm going to go over several examples of ones that I've had experience with in the past. I should know myself really well because of all the personal assessments I've had to do in my lifetime. This is one of them, and this is the one you are going to do, or if you haven't done it already, there's instructions in the assignment folder for this week on how to get to the website to take this assessment. But the Myers-Briggs is one that's based on Carl Jung, I believe is how you say his name, was a well-known psychologist in the early 1900s, was it? Mid-1900s? I don't remember. But anyway, he was a psychologist, and he developed this theory that people can be classified into the following three. He came up with three, and then Isabel Briggs Myers added a fourth. And so when you take this assessment, it's kind of on like a continuum, and it will measure by your responses to the questions, it will measure on a continuum how extroverted, introverted you are. And then on another scale, it will be between sensing and intuition, and thinking and feeling, and then the last one is judging and perceiving. So those you're going to get when you finish the assessment, you're going to get a profile of what you are, of a combination of 4 letters. Mine is INFJ, so I'm introverted, intuitive, feeling, and judging. That's my profile.
I should go write down mine up there, because then they'll know what both of their instructors are. Because I can clearly remember mine because I've taken this several times too. So mine was
extrovert, intuitive. So we're all the same except the very first. No, you're a T and a.
Well,
we're E and T are different.
Yeah. And so the E was pretty strong. The T was on the borderline.
I would like to say on introversion, you know, there's kind of a typecast, I think, on introversion, that you're really shy. And that's not necessarily true about introverts. I used to be shy, but I'm not shy anymore, but I'm still introverted. And as you read your profiles, you'll understand more what that means. I put a sheet of a reference sheet in the assignment folder that talks about these different examples of assessments and gives you websites to reference them. And it includes an explanation of what these different profiles mean. And just to briefly read to you what those are. Extroversion, introversion defines the source and direction of energy expression for a person. An extrovert has a source and direction of energy expression mainly in the external world, while the introvert has a source of energy mainly in the internal world. So that, to me, that means an extrovert finds their energy from the world around them and the people around them and their experiences, whereas an introvert finds their energy from inside. They're more inward thinking. The second one is sensing intuition. That defines the method of information perception by how you perceive information. So sensing means that you believe mainly information that you receive directly from external world. Intuition means that the person believes mainly the information that she receives or he receives from the internal or imaginative world, what they're thinking about or imagining.
I think that's a really important one, that particular one, because you see that both Ms. Walsh and myself are N's, and so I think partly because at least I think I have a lot of experiences and I have this tendency to think. I've gathered a lot of information and I kind of have a pretty good sense of what's going to happen. So sometimes information comes to me from the outside, facts, and I say, but I don't necessarily believe all what you call facts.
The third one, thinking, feeling, defines how the person processes information. Thinking means that a person makes a decision mainly through their logic of thinking. Feeling means that as a rule you make your decisions based on emotion. And then the last one, judging, perceiving, defines how you implement information that you've processed. Judging means that you organize all your life and events strictly according to your plans. And remember, I said these were like on a continuum, so you may not be way down here completely judging. You may be more in the middle, but that's where you landed on the profile. Perceiving means that you are inclined to improvise and seek alternatives. So that's what the Myers-Briggs does, and that's used a lot by employers to get a profile on their employees, how they operate, how they work as a team together. I took this once. The first time I took it was with my office coworkers to find out how we work together as a team and how the different strengths we would bring to the team depending on our profiles.
Yeah, they actually did this here for all of the faculty at Missouri State University a few years ago, and it was pretty funny because the guy that came in purposely came in and he said, yeah, I don't really have any kind of a plan how we're going to do this. We'll just kind of wing it. And he said, he really sees things. I said that just to drive all the J's crazy. you can see that we're both J's. We have to have a plan. How can we move forward if we don't have a plan? So.
And then this is the one you're going to do. And then now I'm going to just show you some other ones that I've been involved with before. This one, Clifton's Strengths Quest. This is based a guy named Clifton that worked for the Gallup organization. He developed this theory based on people's strengths. He made a study of thousands of people who were successful in their chosen fields. He studied them what made them successful, and he developed a theory of strengths. And he said that people that are successful in their chosen fields will build on the strengths of who they are, as opposed to trying to make up for their weaknesses. Okay? Rather than focusing on where they were weak, they focused on what made them strong, where were their strengths, and used those, operated out of those strengths, as opposed to trying to make up for where they were weak. So that's where his theory came from, and he developed a profile of 34 different talent areas or strength areas. I did this one out of all of the ones I've done was the most profound for me. If you want to do this one, you have to pay for it. It's $24 for the book. If you get the book, you get a code to get in to take the assessment. If you're curious about this, I highly recommend it. It's about, like I said, about $24. The website's on the sheet that I gave you. This is the book, and it describes all the strengths, the 34 strengths, and what you'll get is a profile of your top 5. And it gives you information on how to use those strengths in school, how to use those in the workplace, how to use those in personal relationships. This, like I said, was probably the most profound one for me. And I can give you the example. I went on a job interview before I took this instrument, and I was a mess. And it wasn't all due to that I didn't know myself. It was a lot of different things. But after I took this assessment, I went on another job interview, and I understood myself so much better and could articulate my strengths on that interview that it was like night and day. So I just want to say this one was really, really good. So if you're interested in doing something like this, I would highly recommend this one. This is a art piece I did using my strengths to illustrate my strengths. And my strengths were intellection, which is not intelligence that you like to think. Intellection, learner, I love to learn new things. Strategic is a way of thinking about things. Responsibility, I have a hard time saying no, and when I do commit myself to doing something, I follow through with it. That's responsibility. So that one I think keeps my learner in check, because one of the aspects of learner is you love to learn new things, and once you've learned it, you're ready to move on to something else, and you may not have finished the project that you started to learn that thing in the first place, because you're ready to move on. But my responsibility keeps that in check and makes me want to finish what I started. So these work in combination with each other. And then the one in the middle is connectedness. It's a sense of being connected to my world and the people in my world and caring about people, that kind of thing. So, like I said, this was a very profound one for me. And there's a whole freshman seminar, actually, course that's built around Strengths Quest, where the freshmen take that and then talk about how to use it in their lives and that kind of thing. So that's another good one. Next one is the Herrmann Brain Model. This is kind of a take on how you approach your world. So this theory is that there's 4 segments in your brain: the upper left, upper right, lower left, lower right. And this assessment will tell you what your strongest area is in the brain, and then how the other ones play together. And it, again, develops a profile of you in general. And so I'm pleased to say I have a whole brain in this one. I was strong in D, but I was almost, the other 3 were almost as equally strong. So it was a very interesting, some of the people in my group that took this, they were way A and had very little of the other ones. Another interesting thing that this came out of it, talked about when you're in a stressful situation, sometimes you move out of your dominant one into a different one. And that was interesting to me. D is my strongest, but I go into B when I get stressed. I start organizing and planning and get detailed, and when I get stressed, that's where I go. So that was an eye-opening thing for me. Herman Brain Model. And I don't know that you can do this one on your own or not, but you may encounter this at some point along the way. Another one is your color personality. And I found a couple of these online that were pretty basic, and you can do them for free. I did this as a part of a class one time, and this one I did it again, and this is pretty close to what it was about 20 years ago when I was in the class. And this shows that I was real strong in green, which this is two different ones on the net that I found, and I was real strong in green on the other one as well. But green is, I wrote it over there. Green is helper supporter. Blue was my next one, was analyzer organizer. Yellow creator performer, and red leader promoter. And I was very weak. I had almost no red when I took this 20 years ago in my profile. So these are just samples of some personality assessments that help you understand who you are, why you do the things you do, why you think the way you think, why you approach people the way you approach them, situations. I think they're very informative in learning about who you are and can help you think about your future, what you want to do in life, think about your relationships, all those kinds of things that are in your life and ahead of you. So, like I said, it's very brief on personality assessments, and you can, if you want to, go ahead and do the Myers-Briggs.
Let me say a few things about that first, and I'll just kind of relate that sometimes you get stereotypical models of what careers are good for certain personality types, and I was just sitting there thinking about maybe an introvert. A lot of times they might say, oh, a job in accounting or an auditor, or somebody that's an actuary, somebody that doesn't deal with people too much might be a good job for an introvert. That's not necessarily true, but there's a little bit of truth to it. Maybe somebody that's an extrovert, just looking at those two sides, might be a salesperson. Maybe they're a little bit more outgoing and they relate to other people. So one of these things that I'm going to show you kind of relates whatever personality type you end up with when you take your personality type to certain careers that are generally viewed as good for those personality types. It doesn't mean that that I couldn't be an ENTJ and take a job where INFJ is the best fit.
Right.
But so I don't want to stifle you or say, oh gosh, don't do that because you'll never be successful. That's not really necessarily true. But this does give you kind of an idea of what are the personality characteristics that fit really well with certain jobs. Then on the plus side, maybe you have in mind a certain job and you say, hey, look at that, I am a really good fit for that particular type of job. So I'll bring up Blackboard now and show you a little bit about these things. Hopefully they will work for you if you are on your computer and you go to assignments and just click on this week's assignment, week 16. These things should open up as soon as you click on them. One is the personality test, and the first task you guys have is to simply go through the 100 questions, or it's pretty close to 100, but they're fast. And you shouldn't hesitate. You shouldn't think about it. You should just click on whatever yes or no or true or false, your first response. Go with your first response. And then after that's done, I'd like you guys to share these with us, share them with the class, what personality type are you, and do you think that sounds right, or do you disagree with it? And then I would like you to do this, look at this personality career assessment. That'll be our class for the day. So first go ahead and click on personality test, and when it shows up, there's a place down there where it says take the test, and so you can simply click on,
I think if you go back up to the
back
top.
up to the top.
Right there.
Take the test right there.
Yeah.
So there's take the test, and as soon as you click on take the test and say do it, it'll give you these questions, and you can begin. I think Elizabeth is finished already, or not?
Yes.
Okay. I knew you were an overachiever.
Yeah, how many times have been called that in the last 2 weeks?
Yeah, well, when you start signing up for 18 hours or more at a time in a semester.
Well, just because I have the next 4 semesters figured out.
Planning. Where does that fit in?
One of the biggest things I learned from this class is time management,
Great.
and I have been able to decrease my stress before finals by at least 50%.
I'm sure.
That's wonderful.
So I got certain days set up for each class to get everything done and turn in on time and study for the finals, and I'm ready. And all my finals are a week early.
Wow.
So, yeah. So, and I'm not stressed. It's nice.
No reason to be,
Yeah.
because you're ready.
So what personality type are you?
I am INTJ.
INTJ. So a little bit introverted.
That's right on mark.
Right on. I knew it would be right on the mark. I knew it couldn't be too far in the introverted side.
And it's funny because the job listings said the scientist.
And that's what you want, forensics.
That's
Okay.
what I want.
So she's completed that, and obviously you agree with their assessment of what your personality. So as you guys complete the test, just let me know what your personality type is and all. Write it
Mine's
up.
the same as hers.
Yours is the same?
Yeah.
INTJ? And what kind of a career have you been thinking about?
Military.
Military? So, does that personality type fit within the military?
Yeah, it's in there.
It's on there?
Military leadership.
It's listed. Great. You kind of think that's a valid assessment? Or would you disagree with any part of it?
Well, most of it sounds about right.
One thing to do with these is take your profile and ask somebody that's really close to you, that knows you really well, to read it, and have them give you feedback. How they see you fitting into that. It kind of gives another perspective, because there may be pieces of it you may not see yourself, but somebody else says, "Oh yeah, that's really them."
I did that.
Yeah.
The girl went home. She was reading it. She's laughing. She's like, "Yeah, that's right on the mark."
Yeah.
Right on the mark, and of course, when you see something like this, it does give you insight into your own personality, so you can say, hey, maybe I can take a step back and react to this a little bit differently. This was my first reaction, but I know other people would react differently. You'd be amazed at people within this university environment that I interface with, and I get really excited or maybe even upset sometimes, and then I take a step back and I think about it from another point of view, and I say, hey, now I see where they're coming from, and that's pretty important. Well, in my field in management, if you can understand your employees and understand where they're coming from, we have one film where it talks about a guy who was always angry at his employees when they came in late, and then all of a sudden he took a step back and he said, maybe I ought to ask them why they're late and try to help them with their problem, and it created a whole different culture. Zach?
Mine's INTJ.
Get out of here.
Isn't that interesting?
This is probably, statistically speaking, we ought to have Kathy Boysen here,
Yeah.
who's our statistics teacher, and say, what are the odds that in one class, Melissa, what
I'm
do you?
not gonna beat it. I'm not gonna beat it. We had to do this in honors class.
Oh,
with
did you?
Dennis,
Oh, great.
and when he sat down and explained where he saw this fit in, and he went into great detail with how he sees it in our papers, and
Uh-huh.
did it one-on-one, and it was so eye-opening.
Cool. So Zach, do you agree with the assessment?
Have you had a chance to read it yet? Read
Because
it.
I think on that first page where they're yellow, it explains pretty clearly what all these the
And-
definitions of these things.
And you should be able to get a profile out of it that that shows, kind of talks about them in combination. That I found very useful, because how they combine together influences the different pieces of it.
Yeah, sometimes they'll even use this for marriage, actually, and they'll say, this personality type fits pretty well with this one doesn't. Even thinking about it, with my own mom and dad, I always could see that they both always wanted to be in control, and it was pretty interesting to watch. My dad usually went along with what my mom wanted, but you could see that it was difficult for him to do that. And then usually if he came back around the other way and took a really, she would usually say, okay. It depend on the dynamics of each situation.
ENFP.
What is it? E?
ENFP.
That's great. And I don't see how it could be anything other than E when you say, I just gotta be on my stage. So I'm very glad to see that, and I hope this will. You agree with it?
Yes, and I actually started giggling at a lot of the organizational questions. I'm going, yeah, no, I'm not organized at all. I wish I was, but I'm just not.
That's where your P comes in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I envy all J people.
So we will not have a final exam in this class. Your career paper that's down there as an assignment is really your final project, and that's why it's worth 100 points. So try to do a really good job on it. We put down that it's a 2-page report, but we're very pleased to accept a 5-page report. You don't have to limit yourself to 2 pages. But it should be a minimum of 2 pages. I hate it when I get 1 page or 1 page and a quarter. That's not really.
And in there you can include this profile and talk about how that would inform this career path or not. I mean, if you disagree with parts of it or whatever, that could be a significant part of the paper, is an analysis of your profile and how you see yourself that way and how it relates to the career path that you want.
So you won't have any kind of a test next week, even though Miss Morgan just caught me in the hall and said she was going to send me a copy of final exam to be given out in IDS 110, and I just graciously said, wonderful, please send it to me. But it'll just be for me to know and you guys to not take.
What is the current paperwork? Because it's not in and we're just supposed to start.
Where do you submit it?
No, what do you want?
There's no,
There's no directions. And it's, yeah.
Okay. I tried to put some directions on there, but I wanted you to write the career paper identifying what career you would like to pursue and how you feel your education influences your moving on that path toward that career. And then there were a couple other things I think that I might have said on there. Let's see if oh, there, just right up there at the very top. Yeah, if you click on assignments and what did I? Maybe I can elaborate on what I was trying to say. Oh,
No,
next one.
not-
Next one.
Sorry.
Yeah. So.
This one?
Yeah, this one. No, I got it. I've already got it. No, you could get rid of that one. But let's see. Write a career paper discussing your chosen career. What do you need to do to attain your career goal? So if you have to get a bachelor's degree to attain the career goal, you might talk about where you would intend to go to school. You and I were talking about different universities that might be the right ones for that particular career. How your education will help you in achieving your goal, and I guess what you need to do, you could elaborate quite a bit on that. You know, explore, talk to people that have similar jobs and things like that. So it's a little bit vague, but I usually leave a lot of latitude for students to.
And I was looking in the wrong link, so.
Yeah. So anyway, that was the direction that I put on.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to let Ms. Walsh answer any of your other questions. I have to be at a meeting at 12 and it's off-site, so I'm going to take off. And you guys have any questions for me before I go? I'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Okay.